Hello. What's your name? Tell us about you. Some details.
Well, I am Francisco Sagasti. I am a Peruvian engineer who then began to do research and consulting and work and policy making in the field of science and technology policy in Latin America and in other parts of the world.
Okay. As you know, in this interview, the main objective is for you to tell us about who was Máximo Carrer, my grandfather, and I would like to know which are the bonds that connect you with my grandfather.
Well, it's very simple and interesting. I was a graduate student at the University of Pennsylvania working on my PhD, and this was, let me see, probably 1969, the early 69. What happened was that I was looking for a dissertation topic in my PhD dissertation, and someone suggested in Peru that I do a study of science and technology planning in developing countries. And at that time, Máximo Halti Carrer was working at the Organization of American States. He was the head of the Technological Development Unit, and they were advising the Peruvian government. So the head of the Science Council in Peru told me, go to Washington, meet with Mr. Halti, and see whether he can help us. And so that's why I went to Washington, knocked at the door of the office of your grandfather, and there I found this very congenial, very nice fellow, very ebullient, enthusiastic, and ready, and very grateful because he opened the door of the OAS and was able to support my research and to finance my PhD dissertation. Those are the ones. Then after that, we continued being very, very good friends, and we did quite a few things together.
How long have you been knowing each other?
Well, I guess it was for the decade before his death. Yeah, 68 to 78. 16, yeah, I think it was the end of 68, beginning of 69, until he died in December 1979.
So, as you told us, you have worked with him. Can you make some details about it, the work?
Oh, well, there are details and anecdotes. First of all, telling you about Max. Max was a brilliant man, very passionate about the work, very passionate about life, very passionate about everything he did. And he was very keen and keenly interested in how is it that you can improve the capacity of Latin American countries to develop their own science and technology capabilities. And the work consisted in helping the national science councils, the research institutes in Latin America, and universities to improve their own performance by improving the human resources, their procedures, their financing, the choice of projects, and so on. And the department that Maximo headed, your grandfather headed, was in charge of providing technical assistance and conducting studies on those subjects to support the work of the Latin American governments. This is what I worked with him for quite a while. And let me just to give you some anecdotes. I remember in October 1970, we were supposed to have a confrontation between the methodologies developed by Maximo's unit, which I was working very, very hard on, and those developed by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD in Paris. We had a very large department of experts in science policy. And by that time, Maximo had to go to Europe for other meetings, and we all agreed to meet in Paris where the meeting was going to be held. So we arrived in Paris with my colleagues from Washington and the Organization of American States. We went, where is Maximo? Maximo didn't appear. I said, look, we start the meeting tomorrow. And he hasn't read the background paper. We discussed it with him, but he hasn't finished reading it. So what do we do? Well, anyway, we'll see what happens. So we went to the conference in the morning, got there at 9 o'clock. The conference was supposed to start at 9:30, and there was no Maximo. So just 15 minutes before the conference, we see someone just saying, sorry, my plane was late, my train was there, here I am. Okay, did you finish the paper? Yes, of course, but here it is, I don't have time to read it. Well, can you explain it to me? Well, yes, when he did this, what you said, we did that, and we did that, and so on. Oh, okay, very good. And he just simply listened for about 5 minutes. He knew the subject so well that when the conference started, he was the first one to speak and really explained everything in beautiful detail, in perfect English and French, although his French was much better than his English. And we were astonished. Oh my God, this guy hasn't even read the final version and he's giving this presentation. That was his character. And then almost on any other subject that he worked on, he was very, very passionate.
And what do you personally remember about him, like his personality, attitude?
Oh, well, I mean, he never gave up. I remember one day in which I was going to meet him late in the afternoon because he was in Washington, I was studying in Philadelphia. So I used to drive sometimes from Philadelphia to Washington, 3 hours in a little Volkswagen to do my work in Washington while I was studying in Philadelphia. And I remember coming late one time, and Maximo said, just wait for me, I have to go. There is a big discussion in the office. They are trying to cut my project. They are trying to reduce the budget. So let me see what happens. I stood in his office. He went up half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. And then he comes and said, oh, these bastards. They want to, but they are not going to defeat me. I'm going to find a way. Let me see how can I get around them. And he was always looking for a different way, a different style, a different form of doing what he wanted to do. He never gave up. And the other thing I really remember on his intellectual, before I go to his personal qualities, was his omnivorous curiosity. He really wanted to know about everything. He did some very interesting and useful work on developing strategies for science and technology, comparing China, Russia, the US, Europe, Latin America, really Yugoslavia, going to all different countries and trying to figure out the patterns in which they mobilize technology. So curiosity. And as a friend, he was just admirable. I mean, we really were very, very, very close friends. We traveled together many, many times. We were in meetings in different places. We had great fun. He loved music, he loved dancing, and so we really had great, great fun. And also with your grandmother, who was a great woman and who had the patience and the forbearance of being married to a brilliant, exuberant guy. I don't know how she managed to put up with him.
Well, and this will be all for in this instance, and I will add a link below for people to go to your page to see your works, your everything. You said that you made an album about songs.
Yeah, so songs. That's going to be there also. But just before I finish, I just simply want to tell that Max, died many years ago, almost 40 years ago. But he's always on my mind. He's the type of person you can never forget.
Thanks a lot.
That's it.